Today we'll just, in the last class we have discussed about what is the association between diabetes and diabetic retinopathy. So in this class what we are going to discuss is about the pathogenesis of a diabetic retinopathy. So before going into the topic, we'll just discuss briefly in less than a minute what we have discussed in the last class. Fine. So what is diabetes is, it is a increased blood glucose level which is associated with insulin production. Okay, so it is like insulin is a hormone that regulates your blood glucose level. So whenever a patient has a diabetes, he might have a conditions like polyuria, polyphagia and polydipsia, which is excessive urination, excessive thirstiness and excessive appetite. So he will be drinking more water, they will have more urination, then they will be eating too much food. Then it is like diabetes can be divided into type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, which is insulin dependent and non insulin independent, then gestational diabetes, then the secondary diabetes. So how insulin is going to help whenever the blood glucose increases is, whenever you eat a food, the foods are broken down into nutrients are broken down and they are converted into glucose. So once the glucose level increases, once glucose it's been converted into glucose, it is released into a bloodstream. So once the glucose is released into the bloodstream, the overall glucose level increases. So same way, whenever the glucose level increases, that is being converted into glycogen and it is stored. So with the help of insulin released by beta cells. Okay, so either stored or used. Whenever you don't eat, so what happens is the glucose level comes down. So what is happening here is the alpha cells releases glucagon, so that will break the glycogen into glucose and then gives you energy and then makes your blood glucose level stable. So this is the mechanism happening in case of whenever you eat a food and then when you don't eat. Okay, now list down the I'll just give you a gap of 5 seconds. Just list down what we have discussed about the ocular changes due to diabetes. Okay, so now we'll just list it down. So there might be a fluctuation in the refractive error. That's why whenever there is an increased blood glucose value, we won't refract a patient, or we are not supposed to prescribe glass prescription. And they second point is patient might develop cataract and there might be a rubeosis. Rubeosis is neovascularization in iris. Then it is a diabetic retinopathy and optic disc edema will be there. So in this presentation, what we are just going to discuss about is the diabetic retinopathy. Okay, so coming to the definition, what is diabetic retinopathy is, it is a chronic progressive disease which might potentially affect the sight, and it is a sight threatening disease, and in case whenever the patient has prolonged increased glucose level or hyperglycemia, it is associated with retinal microvascularization. So complete definition will be like, diabetic retinopathy is a chronic progressive potentially sight threatening disease of a retinal microvascular associated with prolonged glycemia. Okay, so coming to the prevalence of diabetic retinopathy, the prevalence is about 18% in India, and then men are affected more than women. Okay, so what are the risk factors, or is, as I said, it is associated with increased blood glucose level. So duration of diabetes and poor control of blood glucose level have a effect on eye. So again, during pregnancy and hypertension again causes an nephropathy, and other risk factors are the smoking and obesity and anemia also contributes equally as a risk factor. Okay, so coming to the pathogenesis, what exactly is happening is whenever there is an increased blood glucose level, it will stimulate aldose reductase to produce to convert glucose into sorbitol. Okay, so what is the what sorbitol does is it increases the osmotic pressure of a cell. What is osmosis? It is like water regulation between the cell. So it is like if osmotic pressure varies, the water content, water exchange between the cells actually varies. So next, once the sorbitol has been converted, the sorbitol is converted into fructose. So at what stage we see a change in vessels is where during the when it acts when it activates aldose reductase. So this is the place where we start to have a polymorphism of a cell. Okay, so this is a starting phase of a diabetic retinopathy. So coming to the other thing, it is like whenever there is a high glucose level, what it actually again does is it interacts with the protein and the carbohydrates. So they cross link, both the glucose cross links with protein and carbohydrates, and they form a advanced glycation end product, that is AGEs. So these AGEs are the major cause that leads to endothelial damage, and it is a major cause of having a blockage in the vessels. And this is the other again, this is the cause for leakage of blood vessels in the retina and vessel dilation and vessel thinning and cell death. So what is capillaropathy is? It is like we all our blood vessels has a endothelium covered with the pericyte. Pericyte is like a thick, just consider it as a thick covering. So what will happen in case of diabetic retinopathy is the pericyte ruptures or there is a loss in pericyte. So this is a normal image where you will be able to see, just compare it. So here there is a loss in pericyte. So what is happening here is just consider if you have a lengthy tube. So what will happen is if there is a thinning out of a tube, what will happen is at that particular portion it might bulges out. Just imagine this to a bulging up of a balloon at one particular point. So there will be a bulging like this. This bulging is called as microaneurysms. This is the starting point of diabetic retinopathy. So when this ruptures, what will happen is the blood already this portion is very thin. That's why it is bulging up. Okay, so over a time when it keeps on bulging, it ruptures like a and bursts out like a balloon. So and then releases the blood into the retina. Okay, so this is how you have hemorrhages in the retina in case of a diabetic retinopathy. So again, what exactly is happening is whenever the pericyte ruptures, the vascular permeability becomes leaky. So what will happen is it is like the blood contains all the proteins, lipids and glucose, everything. So consider a blood vessel to a tube. So when there is a thinning out in a particular area in the blood vessel, what will happen is it is like the proteins and the lipids will get out of will get filtered out of a vessels and then get into the settled in the retinal tissues. So just consider when the pericyte thins out, it acts like a sieve. So it is like only the blood, empty bloods will be flowing into the blood vessels, whereas all these proteins and lipids will get out of the blood vessels and get deposited in the retina. So this deposition will be seen like a yellow color spot. Okay, so these yellow color spots are named as hard exudates, edema and cotton wool spots. So what exactly is happening is the pericyte ruptures, so there is a microaneurysm. So when there is a thinning out of a pericyte, there is a vascular permeability changes. This change in vascular permeability leads the protein and lipids to deposit in the retina. These will be in a yellow color form, yellowish color. So this yellowish color is named as a hard exudates, edema and cotton wool spots, depending on its shape and margins. Okay, so once a microaneurysm ruptures, what will happen is the neovascularization. So just consider, as I said before, there is a rupture in the or thinning out of a pericyte, and that leads to a microaneurysm. So when the microaneurysm ruptures, it releases blood. So just consider this blood vessel as a continuous tube which contains water. So when you keep on passing on a water, and you have a end point where the water reaches. So if there is a hole in this place, the water leaks here. So you won't get a water here. So same way, consider this as to a blood vessel circulation. The blood vessel keeps passing. Instead of going here, it gets released here itself. So here there is no blood. So this area of retina is going to starve for nutrition. So what your body thinks is that there is no this blood vessel is not working. So what will happen is it will start producing a newer blood vessels to this particular area. So this process is called as neovascularization. Okay, so just see this image. Even here there is a multiple blood vessels formed. Same way here there might be a leakage also. So whenever there is a leakage, your body thinks that it is like your retina is starving, and it produces a neovascularization occurs. So how this neovascularization occurs is whenever your body or whenever your retina has suffers from hypoxia, so what it actually thinks is it releases VEGF, vascular endothelial growth factor. Okay, vascular endothelial growth factor. So this gives a stimulation to your brain to form a newer blood vessels. Okay, so these newer blood vessels are called as a neovascularization. Neovascularization. That's what is called as neovascularization. Okay, so what is the problem with this new vessels formed is these new vessels are formed again again it is very thin, and the pericyte is very weak. So what will happen again is these new vessels also again start leaking. Okay, so it is like again this new vessel starts leaking, so there will be one more new vessels form, neovascularization forming. So again this starts leaking. That's how your retina keeps getting hemorrhage. Okay, so this is NV is neovascularization elsewhere. It is not in the macula or it is not in the disc. So it is in the somewhere in the periphery, whereas this is in the disc. So this is called as neovascularization in the disc. Okay, so coming to again, the diabetic retinopathy can be divided into two types. One is a proliferative diabetic retinopathy and non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy. What is proliferative diabetic retinopathy? It is the condition where your neovascularization keeps on occurring and there will be a continuous bleeding and those things. Whereas in case of non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy, there will be only cotton wool spots, etc., and those yellow color flakes will be appearing. Okay, yellow color flakes will be appearing only in case of a non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy. And when your neovascularization starts aggravated, then it is turned into proliferative diabetic retinopathy. Again, your non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy can be divided into mild, moderate and severe, whereas proliferative is divided into mild, severe and diabetic macular edema. Okay, so these are the classifications for diabetic retinopathy. So as of now, just recap your pathogenesis and classification of diabetic retinopathy, and take a break. We'll just discuss the further in the upcoming slides. Fine. Thank you.